with some emotional literacy, I'm going to call them, tips. So this is tip number 2. So tip number 1, we were talking about labelling emotions, so naming them. A really lovely resource if you're needing a bit of sort of parenting inspiration and solidarity is a website called theabundantmama.com. abundantmama.com. So it's been really helpful for me over the years, and one of the things that she talks about in her e-courses and in her coaching groups is name it to tame it. So that's what we talked about in the last one, naming an emotion to get it under your grip, really getting under your conscious awareness. I'm not going to say control. So even for the children to be able to do that. The second thing I want to talk about is I often talk about in my yoga classes that emotions are really just energy, energy that sort of comes up through us. So there's a sort of idea that emotions are disturbances through our body, energetic disturbances that we can either kind of shake out, let go of, express, or repress and swallow down, shove down, hold on to in our muscles, in our bodies, block off from. And we all know what happens really when we do that. We tend to store those things up for later, don't we? And it comes out, the phrase, the straw that breaks the camel's back. So it can be one tiny thing that can kick off and open up that Pandora's box of all those emotions that you've shoved down because you didn't want to deal with, can be sparked off by something really insignificant seeming. So teaching our children and kind of recognising ourselves that emotions are just disturbances of energy that we can allow to pass through us, that we don't have to hold on to, is a really valuable thing. And for me as a parent, it's been just a game changer. So when my children are feeling some really big emotions, they're really sad, or they're really cross, or they're really happy even, I try and, not necessarily in the moment, sometimes in the moment, it depends, but can be afterwards, name it, as we talked about in the last one, but also refer to the fact that that emotion sort of bubbled up and came out. So excitement and joy and happiness, they're really frothy, bubbly, lovely emotions. Emotions which also are big but are heavier are anger. Anger seems to be explosive, doesn't it? So we need a way of getting that out. So allowing the kids to stamp and rage and slam the doors, stomp up the stairs, is a way of discharging that anger and getting it out. And you have to decide in your home what is acceptable behaviour and what isn't. But in our home, those things are acceptable to an extent as long as they are not disruptive or kind of hurtful to anybody else. So as long as nobody else is getting hurt, it's a way of expressing your emotion, then actually you've got to let that out, because if you stuff that down, that's going to come back to bite you. So so this idea that emotions are there to be felt, they give us a message, and that they can move through us is a really handy little hint for us as parents, when we're feeling frustrated, overwhelmed, scattered, naming that and then just allowing that to be the case is so freeing. Imagine what it can do for our children. So if we can sort of have that conversation with the children that, it's okay to have an emotion like that. You're not going to feel like that forever, that will come and it will go, and that's okay, and you will survive. So it's that sort of analogy of the blue sky and the clouds. So the blue sky is you, and you feeling kind of happy and okay, and your emotions are just the clouds that come and go, and some of the clouds are very light and wispy and frothy and lovely and happy and the sun's shining and it's all wonderful, and some are dark and angry and there's lightning, and they will also pass and the blue sky will return, you know. So whatever analogy or imagery works for you and your family, I just encourage you to find something like that so that you can have a conversation around it, and that concept of you as a person being a kind of constant, you still being you, even if you feel some of these really big emotions, because they will pass.